I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic book show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at the Mighty Thor issue number 17. The battle lines have been drawn, and Asgard is ready for a full-out assault on the Shi'ar Empire. What'll happen next? Let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? Alright then, so picking up from where the last issue left off, Jane Foster is still in the middle of the Twin Shi'ar Gods God Games, a biblical dick-measuring contest that is getting more and more perverse and cruel as time goes on. Why, for starters, as we join the comic, the two Shi'ar gods started a full-on supernova just to see what would happen, and Thor is doing everything in her power to use her hammer to turn back the supernova. Which, you know, in and of itself is a pretty impressive feat, and given what we know now about the hammer, that a sentient superstorm lives inside it, you have to wonder who's doing the heavy lifting on this one. The rest of the challenges are straight-up Sunday school fare, and as a Reformed Catholic school kid myself, I know quite a few of the stories they're drawing on here. There's the old classic, hey, you know what would be fun? As gods, let's try and get a loving father to sacrifice his son to us. Wouldn't that be fun? Ooh, let's start a plague and see what happens then. Or if you want to go really old school on this one, let's create a sentient race of titans and then have them battle each other for our amusement. As you might have guessed, Thor wants absolutely no part of these weird tests and does absolutely everything she can to try and save people, difficult though it might be. In a nice bit of continuity to that, leftover from the God Butcher storyline says, man, he really wishes Gore got to these guys instead of his friends. These are the sort of cruel, out of their mind gods that the God Butcher was railing against all the way back when Jason Aaron first started his Thor run. Of course, all of this still begs the question, why exactly do these two Shi'ar gods who we have never even seen before up until now have such a giant hate boner against Thor? Well, wouldn't you know it, a particular trickster god had come to them a while ago and said, you know what, sure, you might be a big deal in your part of the universe, but you know what? Everyone in every universe knows about Thor, so when you break it down, you guys basically aren't shit. And, you know, if you started a fight with Asgard, it would serve as a perfect smokescreen for what me and all my other villain buddies are doing in the Nine Realms right now. Now, outside of the actual Thor stuff, a huge chunk of this issue is actually devoted to the Asgardian forces breaking through the Shi'ar lines. We get a hell of a battle between the Warriors 3, the elite Shi'ar Guard, even the Destroyer and the Gladiator get on into it. Now, that's a death battle if I've ever seen one. What's even more surprising is that Kull the Serpent, the evil brother of Odin, is actually doing a pretty good job leading his troops into enemy territory, proving that he is, despite his many, many villainous flaws, a pretty decent wartime leader, even if the only reason he's helping lead this attack is because he wants Thor to be brought to his justice, not Shi'ar justice. Eventually, Jane decides she has had more than enough bullcrap from these twin Shi'ar gods and decides to finish this the old-fashioned way with a trial by combat. Little did she know, in the weird god rulebook, apparently this brings about the final judgment. What exactly is the final judgment, besides, you know, my second favorite Europe song? No one exactly knows for sure, but it involves some sort of giant monster getting summoned from a volcano. On the upside, though, Thor gets backed up by the rest of the Asgardians, and her and Kull decide to put their mutual hatred of each other on the back burner for a second, as they're going to need all hands on deck to deal with the Shi'ar and their monster right as the comic ends. Mighty Thor number 17 was another really tight issue that managed to bring together all the cool sword and sorcery fantasy stuff that Thor has been doing recently, and also all that cool Marvel cosmic stuff as well. As I mentioned before, as someone who went to Catholic school for many years, I dig all the theology that is informing this story right now. It truly is, what does it mean to be a god, and what does that mean for Thor? In fact, when we kind of stop and break it down, that has sort of been the entire thesis for Jason Aaron's run on Thor, even all the way back to the very first story, and this one kind of brings everything in a nice circle. You would hope, too, after this story is said and done, after everyone fought side by side on Asgard, maybe they would finally be ready to bring it together and fight Malekith and end the whole war in the Nine Realms thing. Loki definitely steals the show, too, for the short amount of time we see him. I like that Aaron is still writing him as a really complicated, almost triple agent. You don't know whose side he's on. Overall, I feel comfortable giving this one a very solid 8.5 out of 10, and I can't wait to see how this story concludes. So, there you have it, another Thor video in the bag, and if you want to see some more awesome comic videos I have on offer, please do so at the channel right here, right now. And if you want to keep up to date with both this book and the Unworthy Thor, then there's no better way to do it than follow me on social media. You can find links to all my stuff right down there in the description. You can also find links down there to my SoundCloud page, home of the Comic Multiverse, the podcast I do every week with Fortress of Solitude. It's a good listen, and you know, I'm not just saying that because it's my show and I kinda have to. So until next time, everyone, I've been Cave Joel, and I will see you in the next video.